Shalom, Ka'ala Yahawah, B'Shem Yahawashi, B'Shem Qadash. Double honors my teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect, with the house of David reborn again in this generation. And Shalom with the 130 Yasharallah, who today are known as the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, who before losing our true heritage, we were known as, and still are, the true Hebrew Israelites of the Holy Bible. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about the large, massive amounts of immigrants that are coming into America and how that's biblical prophecy. But let's read this first. This is Jeremiah 51:14. Yahawah, B'Shem Yahawashi of hosts, hath sworn by himself, saying, surely I will fill thee with men as with caterpillars, and they shall lift up a shout against thee. So, as I just said, the mass invasion of America by these immigrants from around the world, not just in Mexico, is a prophecy that the elites of the world are playing out. You see, a long time ago, back when Jeremiah the prophet was on earth in his incarnation where he actually wrote this, he was given a vision where he saw Babylon the Great. Now, he wasn't told that America was the name of the place he saw, so he ultimately referred to it as Babylon the Great, or that great city, and so on, right? But he referred to it as Babylon, okay? Because that's the city that he knew that was like a city, kind of like what he saw, where it was immense, big, lots of people, big hustle and bustle. So he just used words that he was familiar with, that he could explain what he was seeing. And in that vision, that not only him, but the other prophets of the Bible, who also speak of the end time prophecies, they explained how they seen America was going to be filled up with men like caterpillars. Okay, now this is an analogy to gardening, because you see, when you garden, one of the biggest problems with gardening is the pests that you have to deal with. Okay, we all know the story in Genesis about how the Lord plagued Egypt with locusts, right? Basically, and to destroy the crops. Well, that's the analogy that the Lord gave here to Jeremiah, to say that he was going to do to America, that he was going to fill America with pests, right? These pests would be men who the Lord equated to caterpillars. And what do caterpillars do to gardens? Well, they eat it up. They destroy the plants. And you see these men here, like I said, they're not just Latinos, right? People of the Northern Kingdom, but they're also other people. They're people from China, the Africans, and when I say Africans, I'm not talking about your so-called American Negro, right? But I'm talking about the true Africans, right? Or people who descend from the Hamite bloodline. Now, there's definitely Jakes mixed in there amongst them, but again, there's going to be a lot of them in there that are of Hamite descendancy, okay? Now, what does this mean for us here in Babylon the Great? Well, let's go ahead and hear what Ezekiel had to say about these people who are going to come into America. Right? This is Ezekiel 3:38 and 11. And thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls, and having neither bars nor gates, to take a spoil and to take a prey, to turn thine hand upon the desolate places that are now inhabited, and upon the people that are gathered out of the nations which have gotten cattle and goods, that dwell in the midst of the land. Now this here that just says cattle and goods, this is ultimately talking about the people who have come to America out of all the nations of the world. Because again, remember, America is that great seething pot that the prophets seen in the Bible, right? That great seething pot is really just the great melting pot which America is described as. Because again, America gathers all nations from around the world upon it and brings them all here, right? We've all seen this happen whenever America goes and attacks a country. It always brings back refugees from that country, right? Who are known for their talents. And these are referred to as brain drains, where they go out and they get the intellectuals, the financiers, the bankers, the doctors, and all the people of reputable talent are brought back to America to start up a new life here in Babylon and to be part of the system, right? So that way they could make the American dream for themselves and hence get their cattle and goods. That simply just means riches. Well, what did it say that these people who are going to come up here are going to do? Well, they're going to take a spoil and they're going to take a prey, meaning that they're not coming up here to become American citizens. They're coming up here so that way they could take a piece of the pie for themselves in whatever manner that means, okay? Because again, these people here, we don't have enough time for them to be here in America and establish themselves, find themselves a dishwasher job, and then, you know, rise up the ranks to one day maybe own a little small food stand. No, man, these people are going to be here and causing problems. Why is that? Well, because again, these are not immigrants seeking a better life. These are, as we've all heard say, military-aged men with ulterior motives. So you can see here, this is an image of one of these refugees that ended up in the EU, right? In 2013, he was an ISIS war criminal. Well, in 2019, he was identified as being one of the refugees that went up into Europe, okay? And you could bet your bottom dollar that the same thing is happening over here with the migrants that are coming to America.
In California, it has Chinese ties, and this is where investigators found dangerous pathogens, vials labeled Ebola, and hundreds of lab mice.
The EPA just spent several days packing it up, getting it ready for incineration, all taken from an unlicensed, unregulated underground lab operated by an international fugitive, previously convicted of stealing millions in U.S. intellectual property to, quote, defeat the American aggressor. Here's a picture of that man, Jesse Zhu. He used an alias to cross the border. Set up this lab with $2 million from accounts investigators linked to the Chinese Communist Party. Malaria, dengue fever, tuberculosis, hepatitis, even those packets labeled Ebola. What was that stuff? all capable of killing you, doing inside this abandoned warehouse in Central California. Inside, a staff of Chinese nationals, hundreds of mice, blood, tissue, thousands of vials of deadly biological agents, including those labeled Ebola. Now you'd think alarm bells would be going off in D.C. Chinese lab, U.S. soil, a threat of a bio-attack. And yet, Zhu was only charged with selling fake COVID tests. And when the city manager called the CDC, they hung up on her repeatedly in mid-sentence.
This is Job 18:11. Terrors shall make him afraid on every side, and shall drive him to his feet. His strength shall be hunger bitten, and destruction shall be ready at his side. It shall devour the strength of his skin, even the firstborn of death shall devour his strength. His confidence shall be rooted out of his tabernacle, and it shall bring him to the king of terrors. So you see, in the video that we just watched, this proves that those people coming across the border, they're not just immigrants looking for a job. No, man, there's splinter cells and sleeper cells within this group that are setting up things that are going to be needed for when things go bad, right? Why do you think that illegal biolab was set up? That stuff wasn't just set up to sell those vaccines or those test results to somebody. No, they were set up so that way when it would be needed, these devils can basically release those toxic agents that they've created out into the world, just like they did in other places around the world, right? But I'm gonna have to be careful with what I say because of how YouTube likes to, take down videos and whatnot. But again, this is just an example of what can be in these groups of people coming up. Now, yes, they're using Ephraim and all these other Israelites that are coming up with the immigrants up here. But again, that also is prophecy. This is Hosea 9:13. Ephraim, right, the northern kingdom, as I saw, Tyrus is planted in a pleasant place, right? South America, tropical, beautiful beaches and, luscious greenery. But Ephraim shall bring forth his children to the murderer. And that right there was Hosea seeing that the northern kingdom, though they were placed in a nice location, that they are going to come up to Babylon the Great in masses, just like what we're seeing in the very first part of this lesson, where you had that huge caravan, even carrying crosses and talking about the exodus of the poor, with banners and everything, right? There were maybe 400 or 500 Northern Kingdom Israelites in that group, right? But see this, and that's just a small portion of it, right? It's a entire, facility system that's actually doing all this, that's moving all these people up here, right? Let's watch this.
Let's talk about who you saw on this journey besides the kidnappers. Let's talk about the migrants, the thousands of migrants we see in this documentary walking down the street just like a flood of individuals pouring into the United States. Where are they coming from?
Well, a lot of them were coming from China. When we went down there, this whole migrant trail we got from a Chinese illegal alien in the first place. And as soon as you start off in Quito, you can see straight from the get-go, there's a bunch of Chinese that are already down there. And as you go up, it basically confirmed the whole thing for us. Like as you can see in the documentary, there's literally Chinese staging points, hotels that specifically house Chinese illegal aliens going up to the United States. So that's the first important thing is, I would say, based on what I saw, 50%, I don't want to throw out exact numbers, but a lot of Chinese illegal aliens are coming up to the United States. And the reason why this is important is because, we are enemies with China. So, you have all these people from China coming up to the United States. A lot of them are good people, but even if it's a small percentage of them that have sinister intentions, that are spies, that are undercover police officers that are coming up, if there's ever a conflict or dispute between the United States and China, and you have all these people that are here from, that are spies from China, that could be
saboteurs or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And not only that, and then obviously you have Venezuelans, Ecuadorians, Colombians, people from that part of the world that are already right there, you know, situated next to the gap. And then other than that, you got special interest aliens, man. You got Syrians coming up. Syria, that's an incredibly sketchy country. We got no idea who these men are. You'll see a clip in the video of just these Syrian men that are walking up to the camp, and all military aged, all wearing the same gear, just marching in unison up to the camp. I mean, they look like they're military. A bunch of people from Afghanistan as well. When we got to Mexico, there were tons of military-aged men from countries like Sierra Leone. Everybody and anybody is coming up here, man. So, I mean, you name the country, and I'm sure we ran into it.
California? Where are you from?
California.
Where are you from?
India.
You're India? And you?
India.
India.
Where are you going?
California.
California? You?
California.
Where are you from?
India.
You? Where are you from?
India.
Where are you going?
California.
You?
India. Going to New York.
Where are you going? Where are you
India.
from? India?
New York.
You?
India, New York.
You?
India, New York.
You?
India, California.
You?
California.
Where?
India.
You?
India, California.
You?
Senegal.
Where are you going? Where are you going? California, New York, where are you going?
New York.
New York? You? Where are you from?
Senegal.
Where are you going? Jersey? You?
Bangladesh.
Where are you going?
New York.
You?
Bangladesh.
Where are you going?
Georgia.
You?
Bangladesh.
Where are you going?
Georgia.
You?
New York.
New York? Where are you from? Where are you from?
Yeah.
Where are you from? Africa, Haiti, where are you from?
Senegal.
Synagogue. You?
Africa.
Where are you going?
New York.
Thank you. Where are you going, sir?
Africa.
You're from Africa? Where are you going?
New York.
Thank you. You?
This is Jeremiah 30:7. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. So in these last two videos, we just watched the clip from Redacted, where you had Clayton interviewing the journalist from Muckraker, who made a journey along with those immigrants who are coming over here, and they found that there was a whole network set up to assist these immigrants coming from the middle of the Americas. And this system was set up and funded by the Chinese Communist Party, who set up little waypoints along with the EU, who was handing out maps and resources, credit cards, and cell phones once they get here. So you see, this isn't just a group of immigrants coming to America to seek a better life. These people are coming up here to start something, okay? And who is funding them? Well, like I said, China, the EU, and you got all these other nations who are doing this. Well, why is that? Well, you're looking at it. You see at the bottom of this image here is you're seeing the uprising of the people that's coming due to all the economic problems, the moral problems, the immigration problems that are going to kick up in 2024. And this then is gonna roll into basically martial law, because you see, Americans, they're pussies, okay? America has been lobotomized with its entertainment and its food system, okay? And its education system has basically neutralized the people to the point where it's going to be really hard to get a rise out of them. Now, on the other hand, these immigrants that they're importing into America, Babylon the Great, they don't have much to lose, nor have they been programmed like the rest of the citizenry here in America, which means that they're more likely going to cause problems. They're going to riot, they're going to invade people's houses and whatnot. And that's going to ultimately lead to the military force and the police force having to come down heavy on them, because there's going to be citizens who are going to be taking their punishment out on these immigrants. Because again, mark my words, we're going to start seeing news reports about American citizens who are being arrested because they shot some immigrants that were stealing or breaking into things or doing certain things. And this is just going to basically divide America even further, right? Amongst the Americans, amongst the immigrants. And this is just going to cause a whole continual system of just infighting, which eventually is going to lead to just general lawlessness, which again, the Bible tells us that this is coming. It refers to it as Jacob's trouble. Jacob being the name for the entire Israelite race, that being the Negro, Latino, Native Americans, and anybody whose father's lineage goes back to that bloodline. See, that's Jacob, okay? And hence this coming time that we're going to go into, though the Bible refers to it as Jacob's trouble, it's going to be the trouble for everybody. These Edomites, these Elamites, the Moabites, the Ammonites, all these other nations are all going to be in trouble as long as they're here in America. And why is that? Well, because they're going to rouse Judah and Ephraim up. Plus, Edom is going to be roused up himself. We're going to these police who have been biting at the bit to take matters into their own hand are finally going to be given the go-ahead to bring forward those martial law tactics that they've been training for decades for. And that's what we're seeing here, Al-Qiyam. So, you know, I just wanted to share these clips, wanted to put these videos together to show you, man, that though these devils may be doing things on the down low, they're still continuing their mischief. They're still doing their wickedness, and all this wickedness is all prophecy coming to effect. So again, you know, in this year, as the apostles said, right, the year of the hopeful year of Jacob's trouble, you know, chances are this is when it's going to break out. So, you know, stay on alert. Make sure that you are protected. Make sure that you're paying attention to your surroundings, Al-Qiyam, right? And again, just, you know, if you can, stay out of the cities, okay? Because that's where these people are going, as you've seen, right? They said they were going to Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York, Georgia, all these big cities. See, this is why we've been saying you guys got to get out of these big cities, because that's where most of the fireworks are going to happen. So either way, hopefully this video was edifying. Until the next time, I want to give all honor and glory and praises to Yahawah, B'Shem Yahshai, B'Shem Qadash. Shalom.